actually easier to deport people, regardless of whether they have a family, whether they have kids here, whether they have a spouse, whether they've been a long time. And people are deported not only for major mistakes, even for simple mistakes. And even if the mistakes took place decades ago, and even if they are good people now, it doesn't matter. If they did something bad 30 years ago, they may be deported. So it's really so to answer your question, the change of immigration law, the major change happened because of Congress, not because of the courts.
Okay.
Are there any laws helping immigrants to gain equality? Well, under the law, immigrants are supposed to be viewed equally in the eyes of the law. And actually, the Supreme Court have said that we cannot have laws that separate citizens from non-citizens. I mean, the Supreme Court have said that the U.S. Constitution, the protection, applies to everybody in America.
Okay.
But actually, this is not being respected, in my opinion, under today's
Society.
under today's society, and the reason is the following. Now I'm getting too involved, but I'm sure you're smart.
no,
You're
please.
very smart. I mean, my niece finished from Mercy, by the way. She finished from Mercy High School, right?
Yeah.
It's a very, I think it's a great school, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, everybody there is very bright. So
Thank you.
there's a fiction that the fiction is the following.
Okay.
The fiction is that deportation is not a punishment. That's what the Congress and the courts have said. Because when you are deporting someone, you are sending them back to their home country. Therefore, it is not a punishment. That's how the courts have justified the current brutality. So they take somebody who's been here for who may have come to this country when they were infants or kids or toddlers, and they don't know any other country. They just happen, their parents never were wise enough to make them U.S. citizens. And we had actually those cases in our office. So they grow up here and they think they're Americans, but they're not, because they came with their parents illegally and they never knew about it. And suddenly they're in their 40s, and then they make a mistake or something happens, and the government finds that they are not American citizens, and they try to deport them back to where they came from. But they've been here all their life. Well, the government says, we are not punishing you when we are deporting you, because all what we're doing is we're sending you to your home country. Now, she may have been born in Mexico and she came when she was 2 months old. So, I mean, that's, of course, it's a punishment. You're taking away the person from their kids, from their spouses.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really a punishment. But in the eyes of the law, deportation is not a punishment. And it is an administrative proceeding of sending people back to where their nationality is. Now, in reality, everybody with some common sense would realize this is really not practical. I mean, of course, it can be somebody sending someone to a country where they don't even know the language. They have nobody there. How could that not be a punishment? But under the eyes of the law, this isn't really a punishment, which really justifies a lot of acts by our government without appearing to be brutal.
What does the future look like for immigration?
Well, I think it looks great, in my opinion, and because of something will happen in the next few years. In the next few years, the baby boomers, who are 70 to 80 million Americans who were born right after the Second World War, will start retiring. So you will have every year 7 to 8 million people retiring, more than what happened before, more than the people retired before. Well, when people retire, they have a problem. Why? Because first, they need Medicare, right? Mm-hmm. And they need social service payments. They need money from the government, and at the same time, they're not working, so they're not paying taxes. Right. So we can have a big problem. We can have an aging population without enough resources to take care of it. So I think that our government would realize the wisdom of immigration in a few years. We're going to have millions of new immigrants come to this country and who are young, in their 20s and 30s, and so that they can work and support the aging population. Actually, that's good for you because you don't want to be supporting so many old people in 3 years. And when they started the Social Security service back in the Roosevelt era, there was one retired person for every 20 working Americans. One retired for, so 20 people working were supporting one retiree. In a few years, we're going to have one working person supporting 2 or 3 retirees only. So by the time you graduate from college, you could be supporting, your tax money could be supporting 2 or 3 people. That's a lot of load on people like you. So we will need new immigrants to come and work so that they can pay, Social Security and contribute to the system.
Okay. Are taxes different for immigrants coming to the U.S.?
No,
So
immigrants have to pay taxes the same way that U.S. citizens do.
Okay. And I know you were talking about if they're coming for work. Do those immigrants who move to the U.S., do they have to pay a business tax if, like, you start a business?
Well, they have to pay the business tax if Americans would pay the business tax. The immigrants are not treated any better or worse than American citizens. So if the business tax, if there is a tax on the business, the tax is assessed whether the business is owned by an immigrant or an American citizen.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Okay, well, you've already answered number 14, too.
They cannot run, immigrants cannot run for government office. They can run only if they become citizens, if they get naturalized.
Yeah.
So if they get naturalized, then they can run, but otherwise they cannot run for a government office, generally speaking.
Okay. Are there any other aspects of the topic you would
Yeah, I'm very impressed with your interest in the field. You have any questions? I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, but if you have any questions that you can think of, I'll be glad to answer.
Yeah, okay, so we kind of separated the project into sections, and my section is like rights under a visa, and we kind of didn't really talk about that a lot in this. So could you kind of like, the visa where someone comes from somewhere else, and it's like a permanent visa, so they want to stay in America. Could you like explain?
Well, if somebody wants to stay permanently in America, the visa is a green card visa. And like I said, there are more than one way to get those visas. If somebody has an immediate relative, like say, for example, if somebody meets an American citizen, say an American citizen is touring Italy and they meet somebody they love and they fall in love and they get married, then the Italian person can come because they have a spouse who is a citizen. Or you could have a foreign national, in the case of Italian, for example, whose company, like say there is an American company in Italy, and they really like this guy and they want to bring him here permanently to the U.S., then he can get green card based on the need for him. So there's work-based and there's family-based. Then there's persecution-based. If somebody is, say somebody is persecuted in North Korea and is able to escape and come to America somehow, we allow them to come as refugees. So these are the type of green card visas that are out there. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
There's one other type of a green card. It's called diversity visa. America is primarily was made up by primarily Western Europeans, and many other countries did not have the chance. Their people didn't have the chance to come to America. So we allow every year a lottery from countries whose people did not have the same chance to come to America as other countries, like Canadians. I mean, it's so easy.